In the hills of Appalachia, where the mist clings to the mountains like old memories, there are stories passed down through generations. Stories that parents tell their children, not as entertainment, but as warnings. My great-grandmother used to tell me about the town of Millbrook Hollow, a place that no longer exists on any map, but once thrived in the shadow of Copper Mountain. The people there lived by the old ways, following traditions that reached back to the first settlers who carved their lives out of the unforgiving wilderness. Every autumn, when the harvest moon hung full and orange in the sky, the town would hold the reaping festival. It was a celebration of the year's bounty, a time to give thanks for full cellars and healthy livestock. But like all old traditions, there was a price to be paid. The festival had rules that had been followed for over a century without question. The biggest and best of the harvest would be gathered in the town square. Corn, apples, pumpkins, and grain would be piled high on wooden tables decorated with autumn leaves. But the most important rule was this: someone had to stay behind to guard the harvest through the night. Someone had to make sure the Hollow Man didn't come to claim what wasn't his. The Hollow Man, that's what they called him, was said to be the spirit of the mountain itself. Tall as a pine tree, thin as a scarecrow, with eyes like empty wells and fingers like bare branches. He would come when the harvest moon was at its peak, drawn by the scent of abundance and plenty. For generations, the people of Millbrook Hollow took turns standing guard. They would sit by the harvest display with loaded shotguns and iron horseshoes, old protections against things that weren't quite human. And every year, just before dawn, they would see him. The Hollow Man would emerge from the tree line, moving with the unnatural stillness of something that had never truly been alive. He would circle the harvest 3 times, his empty eyes drinking in the sight of the town's prosperity. Then, as the first rays of sunlight touched the mountain peaks, he would fade back into the forest. As long as someone kept watch, the town prospered. Their crops never failed, their children grew strong, their cattle stayed healthy through the harshest winters. But traditions, like people, sometimes die. In 1953, young Tommy Brennan was supposed to stand guard. He was 18, full of city dreams and modern ideas. He thought the old stories were nothing but superstition, ghost tales told by people who'd never seen the world beyond the mountains. So when the harvest moon rose that October night, Tommy wasn't in the town square with his grandfather's shotgun. He was 3 counties over, dancing with a girl from Charleston, convinced he was too smart to believe in hollow men and mountain spirits. The people of Millbrook Hollow woke to find their harvest display destroyed. Not eaten or stolen, destroyed. The corn was twisted into unnatural shapes. The apples were carved with symbols that hurt to look at. The pumpkins were hollowed out, their insides arranged in patterns that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. But that was just the beginning. Over the next year, everything the Hollow Man had touched began to rot from the inside out. The cornfields withered despite good soil and plenty of rain. The apple orchards produced fruit that was beautiful on the outside but filled with writhing black mold within. Children began to sicken with strange, wasting diseases that no doctor could diagnose. By the following autumn, half the town was gone, either dead or fled to relatives in distant cities. The remaining families tried to hold the reaping festival again, tried to make amends with the old ways. But it was too late. The Hollow Man came on the harvest moon, just as he always had. But this time, he didn't circle the display and fade away. This time, he walked straight through the town, touching every door, every window, every threshold. By morning, Millbrook Hollow was empty. The houses stood intact, but not a single person remained. Some say they were taken to whatever realm the Hollow Man called home. Others believe they simply became part of the mountain itself, absorbed into the ancient spirit they had failed to appease. Today, if you know where to look in the hills above Charleston, you can still find the ruins of Millbrook Hollow. The foundations of houses, the remnants of a church, the rusted remains of farm equipment slowly being reclaimed by the forest. And they say, if you're foolish enough to visit during the harvest moon, you might see him still, the Hollow Man, keeping watch over a town that no longer exists, guarding a harvest that will never come again. Some traditions are warning, some stories are maps to places you should never go, and some prices, once unpaid, can never be settled.